And that's it. We are recording and we are in to another week of the Birdie Golf Club podcast. I hope you've all had a great week so far. Where are we? We're Tuesday. Um, it's been a week to sort of decompress after the Open. I didn't really talk about it last week because, to be honest, I was a little bit disappointed with sort of how it panned out. Obviously, it's one of those victories that we'll probably look back on maybe at the end of Scotty's career and be like, wow, that just showed his dominance. But I don't know about you, but I feel like obviously the comparisons are there with what happened with Tiger and what Scotty is doing now. And perhaps we're looking back with that nostalgic view, that sort of everything in the rearview mirror. And everything that Tiger did now, we look back on as being just momentous and unbelievable, which of course it was. So will these victories that Scotty's had, last weekend at the Open, previous before, will we look back on that in a different light? Because it did really appear like to be honest, a bit of a dull Sunday. There wasn't much that was really going to happen. Scotty was the best player out there, had a four-shot lead. If Scotty was four shots back going into the last day, he'd have probably still been the favourite. To have a four-shot lead going into the last day sort of left us in a state of, okay, this is done. And it was done. And he showed his dominance. The point I'm trying to make, and I'll wrap it up because enough has been said about Scotty in the Open. I feel like it's going to take another 2 to 3 years of Scotty displaying this kind of dominance for those type of Sundays to be interesting. If you think about Tiger, it took dominance for an extended period of time for then people to tune in to watch greatness. And because of the way Scotty handles himself, the shots that Scotty does, which are just they're not generic, but he makes them look generic. It's a different style to Tiger. So I feel like it's going to take an even longer dominant period for people to tune in to witness greatness. Maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. But either way, incredibly, incredibly impressive. Before we get into this week's episode, which is with Joshua Coates, aka Pingit on Instagram, we had a fantastic chat. And I know you're really going to enjoy it. It's a really interesting viewpoint. One, because of Josh's story of the fact that he shot a round of 120 when he first started playing golf, and literally said, "I want to get better at this. I want to be a scratch golfer." And it's his journey of 6 years to now achieving this scratch golfer level, which is really remarkable. And he's a really interesting guy, but also from the viewpoint again of the social media aspect, which is something that Josh handles really well and he's very good at. So I think it's a really interesting listen as well. And we just talk about golf and our love of it. But I'd be amiss to not mention, of course, Happy Gilmore too. Um, for me, I was worried going into it. I sort of purposely didn't read reviews because I didn't want it to taint the way I viewed it. I wanted it to be silly. I wanted to laugh out loud, and I wanted the cameos to kind of feel forced and a bit unnatural. Because that's what Adam Sandler does best, I think, in his movies, is sort of hits the obvious points, but then makes you laugh with them, but then hits you with surprises as well throughout the film that make you go, okay, okay, all right, that happened. And I'm not going to spoil it for anyone who hasn't seen it, but for me, I mean, within the first 5 minutes, I thought, okay, cool. I know what this is going to be now. And I laughed. And I can't remember the last comedy movie where I laughed out loud several times. And I think especially for golfers, I had to sort of explain a few bits to my wife of like, oh, that's funny because, blah blah. Again, I'm not going to ruin it. So yeah, for me, Happy Gilmore 2 was a success. it was never going to beat the original, and it almost didn't even attempt to, which was clever as well. It was his own thing. It was parody. Um, Nobody took themselves too seriously. It was a sit down, have a laugh, and watch a movie. And credit to Adam Sandler and obviously the Happy Madison team that made that movie, because I thought it hit the nail on the head and it was great. So well done, Netflix. Um, let's see what comes next. I think that'll be it. They're not going to do a three. I'm sure of it, unless they pay him enough. Anyway, that's pretty much it. Anything else I can report? I went and played in the Century Golf Tour first event that some friends of mine had organised, and thoroughly enjoyed the day. Knew because of the Stableford format and playing off of 10, I knew I was probably going to have to shoot level par to stand a chance. As it was, I don't think even level par would have done the job. Um, I think I ended up shooting a 78, par 70. So for me, pretty good golf. Couldn't could didn't play amazingly. It's a very short course. Went and played Hurtmore. Didn't play amazingly, but also was pretty pleased with my day's work. 36 Stableford points. Not bad at all. But I think in the end, 48 or something won it, and it was a legitimate one because it's a friend of mine actually, Nick Pettit, Nick Petit, also as he's known, who won the event, and he's a genuine. I think he went in as 26, I think, or 24, or even one of the two, and he's a genuine 26, 24. Like, I know Nick really well. If you can hear that, that is my cat scratching on the booth. I don't know if you can, but that's not happened before. Um, anyway, Nick's a genuine, a genuine 24, and he had the round of his life. I think he shot an 84, and thoroughly deserved to take home the prize. So had fun at that event, and looking forward to the next one and just competing in golf because I love it. Anyway, no more from me. Let's get to this week's episode with Josh Coates, aka Ping It on Instagram, and make sure to go and follow him. Follow Birdie Golf Club podcast if you're enjoying the podcast on Instagram to get further updates on there. And as always, leave a like, leave a 5-star review, leave comments, whatever you can, and enjoy this week's episode with Josh Coates. Ping it. I don't normally do a huge amount of research on guests because I like to just learn about you like we would if we were sitting down having a conversation at a pub. That's sort of the idea. But I did sort of stumble across your YouTube channel,
Oh,
which told
and-
me that golf wasn't your first love,
no,
basically. So did you want to explain
into the
some of
archives. Yeah, absolutely.
that?
Yeah, for those listening, I'm Pingit, formerly Joshua Coates, kind of probably more formally. I was going to say informally, but that's more formal. But yeah, I've been doing this thing we call social media and influencing for about 14 years now. And when I was 14, that all started in football. So yeah, basically, mum bought me an iPad one Christmas, and at the time, I was absolutely obsessed with Cristiano Ronaldo and free kicks and knuckleballs and moving the ball left to right and strange things, and not a lot of people could do it, and especially not a lot of people in Scotland where doing a step over is almost considered illegal. So basically took it down to the pitch. Started trying to learn how to do the technique and filming myself and trying to create really cool clips. And at the time, as you can imagine, in what probably would have been 2012-ish, um, maybe 2013, not a lot of people were doing it. Like social
Mm.
media was still quite a new thing. Instagram still had the kind of colorful logo. It wasn't purple and orange. It was very brown and whatever. And Instagram influencing was only really becoming a thing quite slowly. YouTube was still a huge thing. Vine had just kind of ended. Musically, which is now TikTok, was just becoming a thing. Um, so yeah, it was really early stages, and especially in Scotland, like social media and in sport and football primarily definitely wasn't a thing. So I know it always sounds strange when I say this, but as a 14-year-old kind of sort of saw a gap in the market.
Mm.
So yeah, tried it out. Partnered up with my PE teacher, Mrs. Carver and Miss McNeil. They both said that if I filmed and recorded my free kicks and analyzed it and did it as part of the graded unit, we could do part of that as part of my studies. And
How
yeah,
cool.
within like 3 or 4 months, got quite confident and good at the technique, and posted a few clips online with a few friends. And it took off from there. Yeah, at the start, it was just a kid with no intention of really just entertaining people. I wanted to create cool things. I loved football, played football probably more than I did anything else. And yeah, started doing that online, and then it was just kind of one thing after the other. As you kind of find with the Coates family, we like to do one thing and then just continually exceed whatever expectation we had in this originally. Um, so as soon as I got a kind of 1,000 followers, then you're like, okay, you can get things from this. So I was like,
Mhm.
right, let's try and work with companies, and let's try and get free boots and free tops and whatever. So reached out to everyone, figured out how to write emails, figured out how to talk to CEOs. Um,
And this is pre-Chat GPT as well.
this is pre everything. This
This
is
is pre everything.
a raw
Yeah.
15-year-old with a borrowed
Kids don't
laptop from
understand.
IT. Yeah, yeah, exactly. Yeah, I had to type the email
It's crazy.
and address it, and everything. It was mental. But yeah, yeah, the funniest one I ever had, and I always remember this so vividly because I was traveling. My grandparents were from Birmingham, and I was
Mm.
traveling back from a stay with Birmingham with my mum, and we'd stopped in some services, and I'd got an email from the CEO of football for Adidas in Germany, and this is just how raw this was at the time.
Yeah.
He was like, hey, and I'd outreached to a bunch of companies, but he'd replied, been like, hey, Josh, love this. Obviously understood I was like 14 or 15. He was like, not for me though. I'll forward you on to our head of PR for UK and Ireland, who at the time was Ben Goldhagen, who has become a good colleague of mine. We chat
Mhm.
back and forth, and Ben was kind of the first personal and professional relationship I had, and value my time with Ben a lot. And yeah, worked with Adidas, got up to about 10,000 followers, and then it was like a huge snowball from there. And that first developed my first love for anything professional, I think. That kind of showed me that I did want to work in marketing or business or
Mm.
content. Kind of, it wasn't really called content back then. It wasn't content creation that has become a thing now. It wasn't really a thing back then. You would probably call it video marketing or
Mhm.
marketing or advertising. Um, and then yeah, kind of came out of came out of high school at the time, probably had about 70 or 80,000 followers, and I finally had the chance to go home. So I originally am from the Cayman Islands. I was born in the Caribbean with my older brother Chris, and for the first time ever, we got the chance to go home and experience what Cayman is actually like because we moved over to Scotland when we were really young. I was around 7, Chris was about 9, and we got the chance to go home, and it was the first time I really felt myself take a break. And probably for the past 2 years of that, I posted 2 or 3 times a day, every single day. So you do that to do nothing. And unfortunately for me, at the same time, the algorithm had done this mad change on Instagram, and as it kind of as TikTok evolved and Musical.ly evolved, it went to the cookies based model where you went away from this chronological format that was very easy to follow, very easy to get engagement and followers and likes and everything. Like for instance, I think at the time I was averaging about 1,000 followers a day, like for like a couple of weeks before that, which is ridiculous in today's
Mm.
numbers. You've got to be doing seriously something viral for that to happen. And then overnight it went to nothing. You just had no traction, no nothing, because Instagram had developed this new way of developing their channel. So it was kind of like a roadblock for me. I decided that that wasn't going to be everything to do with it. I was enjoying my time at home and kind of a bit of a personal retreat. And then mum was being a school teacher, was very at me to get my degree. So went off to the University of Stirling, got first an undergraduate in sports studies and film, and then a master's degree in business. But it was my time at Stirling that actually led me to golf. So I roughly in about second or third year of university, I played football my whole life, and I probably played my best football when I was at uni. I got to the kind of standard I was playing at was like under 20s development stuff for the Lowland League. So it's like our fourth division here in Scotland.
Mhm.
And that was great. I'd kind of come into my own a little bit, but then got probably my only serious injury of my footballing career, which was some torn ligaments in my ankle. Now, the first time it was just like a kind of like the doctor was very much like, rest it, don't walk for 2 days, you'll be fine. Did that, it was grand. Kind of took a couple of weeks off football, came back, was fine, and then about a year later had the same injury in a separate ankle. So same thing again, take a couple of weeks off, you'll be grand. And then about 6 months later, decided that I was going to give football one more shot, and then did the worst injury ever. Just came off it, didn't walk for 3 months. The leg was gubbed. No one really knew what was wrong with it. So that kind of told me that football was going to be a choice of a hobby versus a style of life.
Mm.
So I was like, that's too much to risk. Um, so went into what was a strange transition of badminton actually. So my now
Mhm.
one of my two best friends, James, he was my flatmate at the time, and he is and still is a professional badminton player. So he kind of forced me to play for the university team. And that was very regimented. There was a lot of 6 a.m. alarm bells. But did that for like a year, year and a half, and kind of got to a relatively good national standard. Somewhere around the kind of like top 30 or top 40 in Scotland, which was great. But you quickly realize that in badminton, you just have to be a stupid level to get anywhere close to it. Like James is probably the fittest man I know, and I know some Olympic medalists and Commonwealth medalists, and probably still the fittest man I know. And trains 5 or 6 times a week, has a psychologist, delivers his life to the sport, and he is around the top 1,000 in the world, I think.
Mm.
And the level from that to the next 200 is just a joke. And then when you get to the 200, the level to the 200 to the 40 is a joke. And then 40, it's just ridiculous. And you're talking about a life endeavor. So that didn't float my boat, and I didn't really think of it as any sort of career. So gave golf a go. And the reason I gave golf a go was because there was this brilliant driving range just close to me that's now closed down, but it was Bruce Fields. And Bruce Fields had this mental deal, and this will surprise everyone listening because this just doesn't exist anymore. But you could go for happy hour, which was true happy hour. I think it was before 8 a.m. you had to be there, and it was a coffee or tea, a roll, and 50 balls, and I think it was £7 for all of that. Whereas you go to a driving range then, I think 100 balls would be about 15 quid. So
Coffee's
it
seven
was
quid.
just ridiculous. So I did that every day for about 3 months and absolutely fell in love with the sport. The thing I loved most about golf was like as soon as I did it, I knew I was crap, but all of a sudden was like, I'm going to win the Open. And I'm not going to not keep getting better at this. And I said this to David, other best friend, the other day when we were chatting about a few things and kind of where we've gone in life. And um, like I've never felt like I couldn't get better. And then recently got to scratch, and I feel like honestly, and this goes back to when I played my first round of golf and I shot about 140. I have never felt worse at golf than I do right now, but I'm the best I've ever been. So it
Hmm.
just shows like the relationship I have with golf and kind of where I want to take it. So yeah, from there I came out, got my degree, got my master's in business management marketing, worked in the corporate world, played golf kind of on the sidelines, and then really started to resent my corporate life. Kind of the backside of my sporting career, always wanting to get better. I felt like there was constant roadblocks in corporate world, as a lot of the people listening, and probably yourself, you'll have experienced in corporate times where or probably colleagues are alluding to you that you are achieving way above your position. But in a corporate setting, especially in a traditionally hierarchy role, there is no room to grow unless a position comes free or you've got an incredibly active and aware line manager that can see that you need to grow or need a little bit of encouragement or 6 month review or any of that. That just wasn't happening. So I was jumping from better job to better job to better job, but it wasn't really like a enjoyable lifestyle. And
Mm.
I always felt like I was kind of hitting a block. Like I really want to be part of something and grow with that thing as I'm doing now with Ping It. But realized how much we were paying influencers, being on the other side of it for a change as a marketing coordinator or content manager or whatever I was in, and said that I've got this account sitting that had at the time probably like 30 or 40,000 followers. It's
Mm.
been dormant there for 4 or 5 years. Why don't we give this a go? So it started out just by kind of capturing occasional golf, like things I was doing, or I kind of started playing a little bit of the crappy competitive stuff that Scottish Golf offers. So played that and showcased my kind of journey from there. And then just at the end of my last corporate job, the following had got okay, content had got slightly better. And then the family that I've just won a tournament with,
Nicely done.
Health, exactly, thank you. Health Leather, I ran into them at Pro-Am at Dundonald. So Craig Dickey, who is one of my best friends and used to be golf coach, but still use him for quite a lot and still pick his brain on things. I caddy for Craig. So I was caddying for Craig in one of our first events at a pro-am he had, and the amateurs are corporate, and kind of everyone will know how pro-ams are structured on here. Um, Three of them were part of this company called Health Leather. And
Mhm.
Health Leather are an incredibly unique and loud accessories and head cover brand. And I said to them, guys, look, I'm looking at kind of taking this thing I do full time. I've got a good following. I work in golf. Want to develop myself into golf and do it. And they were like, yeah, great. We'll send you our products. I'll do it for free. I'll market them. We'll make some content and we'll go from there. Made the video in about a week. It was just a simple unboxing. Some people say it's some of my best videos yet, and that was like 2 years ago. And yeah, I made the unboxing, did the video. It was really good, and from there got about six uh, what would be the word, six briefs the next day from different companies wanting to work with me.
Wow.
And it shot off from there. The money started coming in, contract opportunities started coming in, and I was like, Christ, if you're ever going to try this, now is going to be the time. I had no dependables. At the time, I was moving in with my now ex-girlfriend, but that was a lucrative gig. Owned my car, didn't have any kind of down payments, no dog, no kids, no nothing. So I was like, yeah, just do it.
Mm.
Why not? Like, what's the most you can lose? So did it. And then, like any crazy rodeo show, all of that came tumbling down. So had problems with the relationship, split up with her. So then had no flat because the flat I'd had with the corporate job had given up to go in with her. Wrote off my car skidding on ice. It wasn't no
Oh
one's
no.
fault, just road conditions. So no job, no car, no house. Mum was just moving out of our forever home into her now future home. My brother Chris, he was kind of going through a few bits, so it was like nothing. And then I scrambled to get a flat, kind of loaned some money off Chris, got the flat. And I remember the first night, it was unfurnished as well because there was no flats in East Kilbride is a place in Glasgow. It's kind of like if any of you are living in a what I would call privileged area, there are
Mm.
areas you get just on the outskirts that are slightly cheaper, especially in Scotland. Like, I mean, if it's English listeners in here, this will sound ridiculous, but it's a two-bedroom flat and the rent was only about £600.
Wow,
So
yeah.
it's just a really good place to live. So I was sat in the nicest flat I could find, unfurnished, with I think I went a double duvet, one pillow, and a blanket. No electricity, no Wi-Fi, no anything. And I was just like, if this is ever going to work, it's going to work right now.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
my screen time got up to about 15 hours a day. I was emailing, creating, working just at my desk every single day um, until about I don't know a year later when it became good. At
Yeah.
the time, was working with a partner of mine that I'd slowly been growing with, and that was really good. We got up to a really good mark with them. Um, and yeah, I'd kind of sat here today having made something of it, and trying to continue to make some of it. It's not
Mm.
easy. You get incredibly dark days, but I've got a really good team around me and continue to kind of grow and do everything I can do. And there's still, it's funny, sometimes I think there's quite a famous quote that I abide by sometimes, especially in the good days, is it I can't remember the actor, Tom Hanks, I believe. Yeah, Tom Hanks. And it's they're talking in open forum with another actors, and he talks about the fallacy that this too shall pass. And
Mm.
it's kind of about the thing. It's like no matter what situation you're in, it's like that will also pass. But then it's also important to note that you could be on a blessed time, and you need to know that this too shall pass. So it's the fallacy of just stay quiet, keep working, like do what you're doing, and keep moving. Um, and that's what I've been doing this whole time, and continue to do that and see where it takes me. The golf is getting better slowly. It's been
Yeah.
a rough year, but we're getting there.
I
We're
was
getting
thinking that saying basically obviously applied to your situation over this last sort of like 18 months, year of like the good times are high and the bad times and just trying to find that level plane really applies to golf as well, doesn't it?
there.
You know, I mean that is
Yeah, absolutely.
literally a perfect analogy of what golf is all about because you see the guys and you no doubt see it out on course that
Hmm.
you know they ride those high waves to the point
Yeah,
where when it all comes crashing down, clubs are being snapped,
yeah,
things are going crazy.
yeah.
Like you've said, this year you found it, you know, has your game been sort of on the
Yeah.
up, or has it been a
Yeah.
bit of this?
Well, my season started off so strange. It's a great point you made, but my season started off really strongly. Like with the previous partner I was with, we were building a fantastic project, which was called Build a Bag at the time, and
Hmm.
that was going to be this expansive role where we took the retail partner I was working with, and we went to five of the top brands in golf and did a full Build a Bag. Now, that was in preface that I needed golf clubs I hadn't actually had custom golf clubs for about 3 or 4 years. And what I did
Hmm.
have was a bit crap.
Mm.
So go to these guys, do full fits, talk about their kit for the retail partner to sell the clubs, whilst also getting me like tour level style fit with all these different brands. And we did that, and I was about 3 or 4 projects in, had a bag that, as you can imagine, was pretty expansive and solid.
Yeah.
So at the time was under par round to me felt pretty straightforward.
Mm.
The driver setup I had going made golf stupidly easy. And as the kind of longer guys on this will know, like when your driver's going, golf feels like a chip and putt.
Mm.
Um, when it's not going, it's a different story. But when it is going, it feels like that. But yeah, so when that retail partnership all came crashing down, all the clubs went back. And at the exact same time, James, that best friend of mine, I was building a fence with him, and we did it in an entire day, just one day, ripped out old fence, put new fence in. And that sounds really easy. It really wasn't.
No, it's not.
So
No,
yeah, that's just a full
it's
job.
definitely not.
It was about it was like a double driveway length fence for 20, 40 meters or something. It was crazy. And my main job was to break apart the old fence. So whenever my right arm would die, I would go with my left arm and not thinking anything of it. But then the next day woke up and my left arm was in pieces. So then I went to my physio Ryan, absolutely incredible physio here in White Craigs, south side of Glasgow. And he was like, "Yeah, you've just got a really common labor injury." He's like, "All like guys that work in labor will get this injury, and it's a little CT band that holds your wrist and arm to your hand. Basically,
Mhm.
had just like snapped or become inflamed." He's like, "Yeah, you just need to do nothing for a bit." And I was like, "I can't really do that." So started the season with no clubs and no left wrist. And then
That's an
eventually,
issue.
yeah, exactly. It's an issue. So went from this really good form in solid golf to essentially taking time off with no real bag. So took about a month off, played with borrowed clubs for a few events, Scottish men's being the first one.
Mm.
Found that really difficult. Shot 91. Everyone on here will know what I shot 91. Didn't technically finish last. But yeah, it was rough. Had a few runs in with officials, and we had the all. It's a good story actually. In the practice round played great. I was playing with Ross Kellogg, who's a good friend of mine. He'd shot the course record at Brassey Golf Club just the day before. A seven. This is a great one. A 7 under with 11 birdies. So two double bogeys, and he shot the course record.
So
Ridiculous.
I bet he
Yeah.
still wasn't happy, right? At the
No,
end of it.
that was it. Ross is funny. Ross has played with Ross was similar to me. He'd come from Stirling Union. He'd been a much better footballer than me. He'd had time at Rangers and Motherwell and stuff like that. And had come out with these clubs that were 20 years old and was probably still playing off scratch. And now has he went to Scott Gourley in Edinburgh and got himself a ridiculous set of clubs. I think 5 or 6 grand's worth. Full title is back.
Mm.
Um, and is now playing off about +2. But he was still using this mental Odyssey, like Phil Mickelson style putter that was like a butter knife. And he's ordered since this Lab Golf putter that has cost him about £1,200 or something.
Oh,
And
crazy.
I was laughing because it took about 3 months to arrive, and during that 3 months, he had his course record with the putter. And I was like, why are you getting this putter? And he's like, oh, well, I missed the putt on 17 that was for par and I got bogey and whatever. And I'm like, Christ, that's different. But yeah, had played the practice round at Haddington with Ross the night before, and I'd shot two over, I think. And I was like, that's gonna be plenty to make the cut, which it was, by the way. Two over was the cut. So I was totally content. Like we played it off the tip tips. It was worse conditions than the actual day. So I was like, if you can do that, you'll be grand.
Mm,
Um, and then got to the day and it was just kind of one thing after the other. Like I had a really nervous par at the start. Second bogey was just unlucky. The third bogey was, I think I doubted myself quite a bit. I watched, there was an American group in front of us and it was a lot of the students that were over for kind of like the British Am and stuff like that, getting ready for
mm,
that. And he must have been, I was walking up to my ball as he was hitting the second shot, and he must have been about 160 yards out. And he hit the craziest, like, held off, cut, stinger, swing, hands to the left you ever seen in your life.
yeah,
And I just watched it and I was like, I don't have that yet. So why are we
that's
in the same
different.
tournament?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I know. And it was well the day before Ross, and again, I'm coming from a really rough preseason, but Ross had hit the two best golf shots I've ever seen in real life. We were on this par four fifth at Haddington. It's kind of false dog leg, like it's straight as the eye, but you can't go straight because of the water carry. So you've kind of got to go right or play a huge draw for us, a cut for Ross. He's left-handed.
Mm,
Um, and then a long second shot. And he hit a stinger driver that must have taken off at about 4 foot apex and then hit a 4 iron that looked like it never actually left the ground until it hit the pin. And I was like, I don't have any of that. What just happened? So yeah, I felt out of my depth, and I think that was to my detriment. But played some random kind of bogey golf until the sixth. Had a bogey off of a lost ball. So like a birdie in construct, we always call it a net birdie in golf or a bracket birdie. So coming to seventh, I was actually feeling okay. I knew that I could kind of shoot the lights out on the back nine and get some golf going. Um, and then had my first run in with a proper rules official, which was great fun. So I hit
nice.
this seven wood. I was using Craig's, my old coach's clubs at the time. Hit this towering seven wood, and it landed just on the edge of what I would call the thick stuff. So you had the fairway, the first cut, which was they were all raised. The course was brilliant, and then like the thick stuff, but it was no
Mm,
like gradual and to fescue. It was nettles and nothing. So then walked up to my ball. My ball was set what I can only describe as teed up on the first cut, but you had to stand in the nettles to get at the ball. So I was like, surely I don't have to hurt myself to play this ball.
mm,
So I kind of had a bit of a stomp around, took my setup, had a great kind of fluffy pitching wedge out to about 20 feet, made par. But before that, just after I'd hit the pitching wedge, this rules official, who was probably about 70, is running at me. Like, you've improved your lie, you've improved your stance. And I was like, I don't understand how I've improved my stance. We talked about it for a bit, and I was obviously probably by the rules, by the note, I was wrong. But we're sitting there, and I'm like, all I've done is trampled in the weeds in order to not sting me. Like if you
yeah,
look at the nettles, they're
common
actually
sense
yeah,
surely takes
exactly. If
over.
you look to
Yeah.
the nettles, they were actually stood quite separate, a bit like this, right? There was
Hmm.
no like mush. It was very linear. So if they were regular plants, you would actually stand in between them. Great. You
Yeah.
would get good contact with the ground, everything. What I'd created was a bead of nettles. So I was actually standing on uneven surface. So I argued that I'd made my lie worse, which obviously to him is just not factual.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, so then got a two-shot penalty in the spot, which Shane Lowry can really feel me
Yeah.
with.
Yeah.
Mental.
Crazy.
It's just
Crazy.
ridiculous. And then
The naked
yeah, it was
eye.
kind of a downhill from there. But it was a real good first step. Like I've done I mean, even at the weekend there, I've got my strikes and clubs now, so it's a different story. But I shot
Mm,
three under Eastwood 12, which is the new 12-hole golf course here in Scotland. And I don't feel like I'm any better of a golfer than I was at the time. Sure, I've got clubs that I'm used to now, and I'm playing more confidently, and I'm hitting the shots I want to hit. But I still feel like I was the same golfer as I was then, and as I probably was months before that. So it was definitely a rough start, and it has continued to remain at that. Although the scoring has come down. The
mm.
problem open qualifying for any of you who don't know, I played open qualifying, incredible experience. Although we had more runs than with the officials. But yeah,
Where
got to
did
open
you
qualifying.
where did you play?
Oh,
to
Brassy.
qualify now.
So Brassy, Kilmarnock Brassy is a really soft spot for me. David Addison, who runs the club up there, is just one of the most forward-thinking managers of a golf course you will ever meet. Like he loves socials, he loves young people on the course, does things with proper juniors, like really young
Mm.
guys and girls regularly. They've got a fantastic setup up there. It's 27 holes. You've got 18 championship holes and then a 9-hole golf course that I would argue is probably harder than the 18-hole golf course. So just an amazing setup, and the pro there is great. He's another good believer in me, and the catering I still argue is the best kitchen in golf. So it's a special place, and
That's the
I'm
key,
headed there.
Steve.
Yeah, it's incredible. I'm headed there tomorrow for some Scottish Women's Open content, so that'll be cool. But arrived there, and it was actually just the night before I'd got my golf clubs. So
Mm.
arrived back from holiday and took my clubs out of the cellophane from Strixon that without downplaying Shrixon, were slightly incorrect. However, regardless of the fact, opening your golf clubs the day before was
I
never
saw
fun.
your video of that.
Yeah,
It's just fun, isn't it? I mean, that's just a
it's
fun thing to
honestly as
do.
well, it was pretty much true to the timing. Apart from, I would argue, maybe a 2 hour nap on the bed next to me. That's all it was. It was very much getting open clubs. The missus was in the other room, like trying to sleep. And it's
Just
funny,
you giggling.
there's an original cut of that video where I did the whole Elmer Fudd thing. It's like, be very quiet. So yeah, it was absolutely mental. It's funny, I made it actually quite funny because I knew David would be there early doors and come out and speak to me. So we're on the range and they set up the first hole of the Hill House golf course, which is the 9 hole, as the driving range. And I'm out there shelling balls and filming some bits. And David comes up to me, so I was like, okay, yes, you'll love this. So I took off the driver from the head cover of my Shrixon driver and took the cellophane off as I was speaking to him. And he's like, "You've got to be joking." And I was like, you can't write it." And he was like, I was like, "Do you want to head it before me?" It was great fun. And I'd gone into I said this to David as well. I'd gone into that knowing that I didn't have a chance, but also that the achievement wasn't in playing the Open, it was getting there. It was like you can't tell the kid that everyone wouldn't believe he was going to get scratch. By the way, I'd shot, I think it was probably 100 at Falkirk, and then told myself I was going to be a scratch golfer. And my friends around the table were not so in belief of me. So you can't tell that kid when he gets to Open qualifying finally, um, that's not a crazy achievement to do in 6 years or any scope of the
Mm.
bat. I mean, people play their entire life and never get as low as that or have that
Mm.
opportunity, regardless of the format of the British Open. That I think is the best tournament in golf. So that was really cool. So the achievement was on that. So I approached it very openly minded and just ready for the occasion. Like I was like plenty of golf balls in the bag, plenty of snacks. James
Yeah.
had kindly take some time off training to walk around with me, and Victoria, my partner, she had come down as well. So it was a great day, right?
Yeah.
The only thing that went wrong was on the first hole, and I was playing with two great guys as well, Stuart and Harvey, it was amazing. He was great. He played the most bog standard, boring 1 over par you'll ever see in your life, but qualified. And I loved the whole thing. And he was just a great guy. Um, on the first, hit this great drive, and if you've ever played Brassy, or for the listeners that love Brassy, you'll know that the bunker on the left from the tips is exactly where you want to aim. So hit one straight over that. It's great. Knuckled a 6 iron from about 240, and it pitched in the greenside bunker that was about 50 yards out. And I was like, okay, great, up and down here, and we'll walk away with par. So then pitched this thing absolutely tight, and I was like, Christ, that was an incredible shot. Don't react, you'll be fine. Missed the birdie putt, and then tap in par. And because I'd done all of that, like really stock drive, really good 6 iron, incredible bunker shot, 2 putt stock, I'm like, you could qualify.
Uh-huh. And
Even
there
par
it
ball,
is.
man. Yeah, and as soon as you do that, it was a downslide. I hit a nervy shot on the second hole, and then just hit like a really adrenaline full 8 iron on the approach shot, and ended up in just no man's land, and
Mm.
took a very high score that I won't care to mention. And then it was just recovery after that, but reset at the ninth, and I think I was 2 over on the back nine, which was totally fine.
Mm.
Um, but yeah, another thing for that I'll allude to, that you don't again, same team. It might have been some of the same officials we had because it's the R&A and they send them
Mm.
out everywhere. um, we were timed from hole 5 to hole 11. Every single shot was
Right.
timed. And I was given two warnings because I took 55 seconds and then 53 seconds on one shot. Now, the official rule is you get 40 shots, 40 seconds from
Hmm.
arriving at your ball. Now, people don't realize how quick that is. So as soon as
Yes.
you get to your ball, bag down, you have 40 seconds to pick your club and hit.
Mm.
When you're on putting, you get there's slightly more freedom because you have to read the putt. And then when you're on the first tee, if you have honors, you get 50 seconds. That's it. So the two times I got warnings was when I had honors and I took 53 and 54 seconds. So 3 and 4 seconds above time. Now, as you
Mm.
can imagine, right, we played in 4.5 hours three ball, which for the open qualifying is completely fine.
Mm.
These guys at the weekend, Rory took 4.5 hours through 10 holes. So you can imagine the disparity here.
Mm.
And Harvey, it was hilarious. When we got timed on our first hole, Harvey, who was just a loud kid, was so raging about it. And I loved it. And I was just eating him
Yeah.
up. And he made an eagle in the par five and turned
Yeah.
around and was giving this official everything he could give. And he was like, keep timing me. I love it. But yeah, you don't see it.
It doesn't seem like particularly fair, does it? Because if you're going to
No.
implement that, it should just be bog standard that every single player is timed on every single shot throughout the
Yeah.
course.
I mean,
You can't just pick it up and drop it as and when you
you
feel
watch it
like
in
it.
I think it was 2020 or 2021 when Patrick Cantley became under real fire because he was taking on average about two
Mm.
minutes a shot and over his ball was taking about 40 seconds. So that's the chat with the caddy, the walk up to the green, then getting to
Yeah.
the ball, then you're taking 40 seconds. Like at one point on the ninth hole, James and I were running to this ball with two clubs in my hand. Like for
Mm.
open qualifying, that's ridiculous.
Yeah, you shouldn't have to do that.
So it's the stuff you don't see.
And
And it was
were you the first group out or were you following?
no, we were game four. And the team behind us were behind us, and the team in front of us were ahead of us. So there was
Right.
no like, there was no
Yeah.
nothing. It was just a thing from them. And I think they had the only preface to that is the team in front of us had turned into a two ball because the guy had slept in. So they were rapid as well.
Yeah.
But I think they were making up time because they'd started late. But it's
Mm.
just like I've played quite a lot of golf tournaments now, from everything from like a Diddy medal all the way up to open qualifying.
Mm.
And open qualifying has to have been the most unrelaxed experience ever.
Mm.
It's just you don't see these guys timing you and everything like that. Like a perfect example I talked to the women about because I wanted to know how long I had over the shots and like understand the process of it. Craig and I had caddies for Craig at the PGA in Conway. So the PGA for the golf professionals in the UK is like their Masters. That's their biggest tournament for the professionals. And it was in Conway, and we caddied for Craig. And Conway has the unusual and quite unfavorable setup that on the fifth and the 11th tee they're shared. So
Mm.
when the first group gets round to the 11th hole and that kind of third or fourth or fifth group are getting to the fifth, there's a real traffic jam. So the
Mm.
first group typically would get round, the first five groups would typically get round in about 4.5 hours. Whereas on the first day, Craig and I, our team, who was Craig, someone from Golf Tourism, and Jordan Loft, who's an incredible golfer down in England for the Princess Club, it was 6.5 hours. And this is three of the best golfers in the country. And you're
Mm.
just like, how can we do 6.5 hours here, but
Mm.
if we do anything above 50 seconds here, we're on the clock. On one of the toughest golf courses in Scotland. It was
Yeah.
crazy.
It does
It was
seem, I mean,
crazy.
it just seems mad because people go on about this issue of sort of, how long it's taking to complete rounds, but do you find it an issue? Like in a if that round had taken you, say, 5.5 hours, would you have would that have been to the detriment of your round, or would that just be part of the experience of open qualifying?
I think it's a good question you raise. And someone probably quite relevant to bring up is someone like Nelly Korda, who has
Mm.
been quite loud in the press saying she hates it. Um, And I think it's only detriment when you can't keep rhythm.
Mm.
So for me, if you're in a round that's, I mean, me and Craig and Martin Monroe went to Buchanan one day. The course was dead. Buchanan's my away course, and we were in buggies and we played 18 holes against three good golfers like Martin and Craig are both PGA pros. I'm a scratch golfer. We played it in 2.5 hours, 18 holes.
Wow.
With the three balls, crazy fast. And it didn't feel fast. It just felt really enjoyable. I remember I phoned Craig on the way home and we were chatting about dinner plans and stuff like that. And we were just like, did we just play 18 holes in 2 hours? Like that's ridiculous. And then
Almost not getting your money's worth.
no, exactly. And I've played rounds where it's been 5.5, 6 hours, and again, hasn't really felt that long. But
Yeah.
as soon as you're stood over a ball into even, let's say, an exciting shot, maybe you've got like 200 yards in, you're holding a 7 iron, you're thinking I can get to a par 5 and 2 or something like that. Or if you're on a short par 4 where you've got driver in your hand, you think you can get the green, and you have to wait
Mm,
3, 4, 5, 6 minutes for someone to finish the hole. That's where it becomes
yeah.
really detrimental because then you are waiting every shot because you're driving it, you're going out, you're putting, whatever. Next hole, wait, hit,
Yeah.
play, wait, hit, play, wait. That's when it becomes really exhausting. Um, Whereas like the open, like we were never waiting. So
Mm,
the more negative experience was rushing. That was the negative experience for
yeah.
us. Like eventually when we got to 12th and we were off the clock, we were like we were all confident golfers. I take quite a lot of time over my putting because I do like a hybrid style of aim point. So you have to walk the
Hmm.
line, come back and read and redo your line and whatever. And I've never been that confident with an alignment line. So I take quite a bit of time. And there was no complaints. The guys had a good time. Like, and I shot at the Open qualifying 86, right?
Mm,
Harvey shot one over. Stuart was slightly more, maybe like 82. So they're
mhm,
not great rounds, but
mm,
4.5 hours and no one's really complaining apart from the RNA.
mm,
So no, I wouldn't say it is unless you're constantly having to stop and wait for someone, or it could be if you're a Tory golfer, as I call them, and you're playing with someone that's maybe not as developed as you, or the
yeah.
group ahead of you are not as developed as you, and you're kind of watching them hack about. That can be really lethargic and boring,
Yeah.
you'd imagine. But you know, it's a good point. It's a tough question, isn't it? It's the age-old question.
Yeah. I know for like, casual rounds and stuff. I mean, I played like East Sussex National once, and it was me and my wife were staying there, and she doesn't play golf, but she was like, let's go out and I'll drive the buggy, you play. And I was like, oh,
Yeah,
cool.
the
So
dream.
went to play. Yeah, it's just like absolutely perfect. Like I can just focus on the golf. You can drive me around. This is gonna be
Yeah,
great.
exactly.
And we got out there, and they informed me that I was the tee time behind a group of I think it was 16 ladies that were doing a society day,
Yeah,
and I was behind them.
yeah,
And
that's rough.
I thought I'll give it like 25, 30 minutes and then I'll head out because it wasn't busy after me. So I thought
Good
I'll do
idea.
that. I caught them up by like hole five. Um, and it took 3.5 hours to play 9 holes because they wouldn't let me play through. Like
Yeah,
I'm standing there in the fairway and they're on the green, and they're having a great time as
yeah,
they should. Like they've paid their money. It's their day.
yeah, yeah,
But you look at stuff like that, and I completely understand that because I gave up after 9 holes. I was like, this
yeah.
just isn't fun. Like
No,
I'm sitting here getting cold. I'm not hitting good shots because I'm
yeah,
annoyed. I
yeah,
don't know if I have a right to be annoyed or not as a one ball, like with the
no,
traditions of golf.
you're
Like it's a
you're
difficult spot.
you're totally right, and I think a lot of courses, especially those that offer that kind of business model and also offer buggies to singles, like
Yeah,
you're always going to run into to landmarks there and traffic signs.
yeah,
But for me, like whenever I'm out with that, if I knew that I was going to be in that situation, you're playing kind of like 2 or 3 or 4 balls, like you're practicing, trying to enjoy it. But even at that remark, like at that time with the kind of those kind of groups in front of you, it's really taxing.
yeah.
And you would never want to kind of be in that situation,
No,
especially not in a competitive format. No, no way.
no, exactly. I mean, fortunately, it didn't really matter,
No,
But
of
then
course.
to your other point, it's no fun when you're feeling like the group behind you have like the Flash in their group who they're
Yes.
all just playing ridiculously quick
Yeah.
and they're on your tail like all the time and
There's also
like
that point. You raise a good point. There's also that point with your playing partners, and this is probably how, and I can't comment for them because I don't know them, but how some of the girls on the tour feel possibly playing with Nelly if she wants to play superly quick,
mm,
because I mean, I can speak for myself. My process is quite slow. I'm not a slow golfer, but it is quite slow. Someone I hate playing golf with, and he won't mind me saying this because he knows himself, and a lot of people comment on it, is James Shortside, and he is the fastest golfer you will ever play with in your, and he's really good, and that's why
Yeah.
he's so fast. But and he's also developed the system. Like James films a lot of his rounds, and will probably play faster golf filming than you will not filming,
Wow.
which is ridiculous. Yeah, it's ridiculous. Like he has his wee spike, sticks it down, clicks film, hits ball, gets spike, goes. It's just so fast. And he really loses balls and he hits the ball great. So it's cool to watch, but at the end of the day, you're just running after him because
Yeah.
you could be putting out for something. He's already with his spike at the next tee, setting up, waiting for you to go.
It must
Um,
come down to a volume of golf that you play as well, right? Because I don't play like a huge amount of golf. Like situations, I've got two little kids, family. I play like two rounds a month is like a good month
yeah,
for me. So when I'm there, I want to like soak up every shot
yeah,
because
yeah, yeah,
I'm
totally.
desperately trying to bring my handicap down.
Yeah,
I know that every shot matters for that, so I'm just like trying to get as dialed in as I can.
yeah.
But then if you're playing with someone who like is just well they'll just play like in 2 days' time, like it's
Yeah.
fine. Like let's just the worst thing for me is when someone says, "Do you want to play a scramble?" I'm like, do,
Like, no,
do
I
I
want to play
what?
my own ball. I want to edge my own sport.
Do I want to
No,
have fun? No,
you're
no, I don't
absolutely
want to have
right.
fun then.
It's it's guys that work in golf, and I probably should be like this, but I'm not. But
Hmm.
you're right. Like James will play more golf than he has hairs on his head, probably. And is guys like that. Like another good example is the kind of 60 to 80 year olds that play the members golf every single day that are retired
Yeah.
because they play a fantastic style of golf that you would only envy if you could hit it like that. But you walk up, you drop the ball, they hit it 180 yards, and they run after it. There was a guy. I was laughing at this because I was playing Deer Park, which is quite a friendly course for me. And Keen, I know the pro there or assistant pro. I was texting him, being like, "Mate, we are through 7 holes, and the pair behind us are screaming at us to move. I think we've done the 7 holes in maybe 40 minutes. And they are screaming at us." And I was like, "Christ, I'm going to let them through at 9. Like we've just gone birdie on the par five, and they're rushing us." And I watched this guy play, and he hit his tee shot, and then no, the first guy had hit his tee shot, and then he was rushing him off the tee, put his ball down, and in 12 seconds had hit the ball. And I was just like, he's running. He can
It's
play speed golf.
crazy. A couple of
Oh, it's
speed
just
golf robs, just
oh
just
no,
like
honestly, oh mate, yeah, honestly, he's great to watch. Oh my God, but no,
it's
it's
yeah, it's like an impossible balance, and
yeah,
like it's throughout sport, isn't it? There's always going to be like talking points in sport, like football. Like getting back to what we were talking about earlier, football for me has been like detrimentally affected by VAR. Like
yeah, yeah,
I
yeah,
don't enjoy
slowing down
football
of
to the
everything.
level as what I did of, I mean, I'm a Man United fan, so I don't enjoy football to the level I did 20 years ago anyway. Like
Yeah.
it's an impossible thing to do. But I do feel VAR has sort of ruined a bit of the soul of football.
Mm.
And you worry about with golf if they decide to bring in like shot clocks, kind of like what you see in TGL on the course, is that going to make the viewing experience maybe a little bit different because it doesn't have that? I mean, I don't know about you, but like Masters Sunday, because it
Mm.
falls at like the perfect time in the UK, doesn't it? Like
Yeah,
for watching it, that Sunday
does.
evening.
Yeah.
Would it feel as relaxing to watch it if there's some guy behind with
The clock.
like with a clock on, or you're literally seeing it on the screen? Is that going to
I
like
th
elevate your heart rate to a point where this isn't the same game anymore?
yeah, I think it's interesting, and I think there's like two sides to it. I never think you can bring a digital side into the polished and perfect game that is professional golf in regard to like the Masters or the Open or the players of the PGA or the FedEx or Dubai or wherever we are. But go sideways into something like TGL,
Hmm.
that's where the shot clock works really well because it is the virtual game side of things and having the shot clock and they're all just taking the mick. We know they are.
Yeah.
So having that element where they're kind of rushing each other and gibbering and jabbering is quite exciting and entertaining. But if you put And they would people like Sky Sports and CBS and all those guys and Fox would put it on a thing. There would be a time clock
Hmm.
on it, and it would take so much of the like the aura and
Yeah.
like refinedness that golf is away. It would the Masters would become a gimmick. It's like, oh,
Yeah.
Bryson's got 40 seconds here to find his ball and hit it, and that's not what the Masters is about. Masters is about like phones away, play golf as raw as
Huh.
it is. Um, have a really good value sandwich and walk around this amazing course.
Mm.
So yeah, I hope, I pray they never bring it in. I know the players are still timed, and that might just be an RNA issue. I don't know,
Yeah.
but yeah, I pray to God they never ruin or tarnish the sport that way.
I worry that they're going to. I know the chairman Ted, what's his name?
The
Fred
new
Ridley.
chairman, yeah,
Yeah, Fred Ridley, Augusta, who becomes like the most important man for 2 weeks of the year, and then you don't see him again, which is just a
yeah.
crazy place to be. But he, I think he was talking about it beforehand. He was definitely addressing pace of play, and he was pro like
Clock.
sorting out, yeah, sorting out pace of play. So it does worry like that. That's sort of like the establishment of golf that is
Yeah,
possibly like as full of heritage as anything else. As similar to like your St Andrews and stuff like that. As far as where it's looked at in the game of golf, and you worry that they don't know what they're opening up
yeah.
by doing
It's,
something like that.
it's funny, like you talk about the viewership side of it and the time of day it's on, and you make a really good point because I have never in the past watched that much golf, but I've been watching quite a bit of professional as I tried to play professional golf. And
Mm,
watching the Open the other day versus the Masters and the US Open, both which I watched pretty fully, the time of day you're watching those tournaments at is so much better than the actual Open because the
yeah,
Open is kind of like around that really busy time of day, like the 2 p.m. till 6, 7, 8.
yeah,
Whereas the Masters won't get cracking until like dinner time. And then
it's
you're watching
perfect.
it the entire night, which is so good, especially for, like you said, the guy like yourself
Yeah,
that can kind of get the kids ready, get dinners made and whatever, and then sit down and watch the golf. Whereas like the Open, you're like, oh, what am I doing? Like, can I fit it in
yeah,
and all this stuff? So yeah, like I mean, obviously the way Rory played and the way Justin played and all of those guys, it made that tournament so special. But
yeah.
I much more enjoyed the US and the Masters versus the kind of Open, just due to the times and stuff.
Mm.
Also, I would love to take this time to mention what an incredible app the Masters app is. I don't know
Oh,
if yeah,
the
the
greatest
best
app
app
in the
in the
world.
App
It's just
Store. It's
unbelievable. I have
incredible.
no use for it for the rest of the
No,
year, but it's
I love
unbelievable.
it's like you said about the commissioner. I love every year when you get the memes that come. It's like, oh, downloading the best app in the world for
Yeah,
2 weeks again.
yeah. I've
It's,
refused to delete it this time.
oh yeah,
I can't
it's
wait
so
for it to
good.
update with like
New
the new
stuff.
yeah, the new stuff. I'm just waiting for that day because I know it will soon come. It feels a long way off right now,
Yeah, yeah.
but it
No,
will soon happen.
it's so good.
Well, Josh, getting back to you, I mean, you said 6 years ago
Hmm.
you went on the mission of like, well, not even a mission. You brought it into existence
A life
by
change.
saying, "Yeah, I am gonna be a scratch golfer. Like
Yeah,
I'm gonna be a scratch golfer." So where did that belief come from?
it was it's a good question actually. The belief is a strange way of putting it. I guess after doing the whole thing with Pingit and football and kind of achieving something that I wasn't really meant to, like I had an iPad and kind of took over a little social part of Scotland and lived out a dream that every kid would probably love to live out.
Mm,
Um, I was hunting again for the experience of doing the unthinkable. So there was that kind of, I knew I was bad at golf, although I'd never have told you that. Um, and a kind of a few people had started to tell me that I couldn't do something. So that was
mm,
like Nitros to a Subaru. And I was just so ready to get my talons into something and really grip a hold of a journey. And I shot 131, I think it was, at Stirling Golf Club, and felt like I probably could have shot 62. So I was just
mhm.
like, this is it. This is it for me. There was a few holes I shot 10 on, and I was like, why did you do that? How did you do that? And the thing I love about golf, which takes away from everything else, is that in its rawest form, if you take everyone off the golf course and it's just you, your clubs, and the ball, that is the sport. It's
Mm.
you against the course in its finest form. And you look at any of the sports I played, like badminton, football, there is playing conditions, opponents, morale, nets, all this shebang. And I know you deal with a lot of things in golf. I mean, if you sat and went at a ball, you could do the Phil Mickelson thing, like humidity,
Yeah.
ball, temperature, wind, water. Is there water on, water off? Like all
Yeah.
this stuff. But it's just you and the course. And in golf, you have this finite thing that if you deliver the club between -1 and +1, and the face angle between -1 and +1, and launch the ball relative to that of the attack angle for that club, the ball will do the thing it's meant to do, which
Mm.
I think is so amazing because if you can do the thing will do the thing. It's very
Mm.
science-based.
Yeah, yeah. No, the ball isn't biased, is it? The ball's just going
No,
to do what
not at all. Whereas like with football and badminton and everything else that is so fast paced and those balls and shuttlecocks are moving at all times. You never have that chance to do that thing.
Yeah.
Whereas the ball doesn't go anywhere, so you just have to control yourself. And if you can
Mm.
control yourself, the game will pay dividends back. But if you can't, then that's where you and the game have a bit of a tussle. So yeah, I went on this mad journey of just keep getting better at doing the thing that allows you to be good at it. And it has brought so much to my life. I mean, it is my life now, but like David, who I spoke about briefly, we met. David was my captain at the under 20s for Stirling, and I was going through a really rough time with a lot of loss at uni at the one time, and kind of David took me under his wing and honestly pulled me out of whatever hole I was in, and me and David became really close. And then after uni, kind of went our separate ways. Then we realized that we essentially lived next door to each other. So then golf became our outlet. And growing up, David was a fantastic golfer, probably one of the best in the area. Um, and we play golf, and we still play golf all the time now. And he's one of my greatest friends. And next weekend, I'm going to his wedding, and we're
Oh,
playing golf
amazing.
at Fota Island Resort, Deer Park or something. I can't remember. Shane
Oh,
Lowry
well,
played it at the weekend. It's a great,
okay.
great golf course in Ireland, Cork. So yeah, we're going over there to play some golf, and it's just opened so many doors for me. Um, and I constantly love the challenge. And now I've
Mm.
got to the stage where once again people are like, "You're never going to do the thing. You're never going to do
Mhm.
it. You're really crap. Or you're not a scratch golfer. You're doing this. You're doing that." And I'm like, "Yeah, bring it on. Tell
Yeah.
me I can't do it because I love it. I will eat it up."
So you're quite well suited to the sort of, I mean, because you've basically sort of grown up with it, you're pretty well suited to the social media world where the negative comments will come in and, you have your swing will get analyzed by people that have absolutely no coaching ability whatsoever, telling you to get shallow and you're pretty well suited to that sort of setup then.
It's funny. It's like it's funny you say that because another friend said that to me the other day, and the comments definitely come in terms of like the output of my golf and scoring and everything else and what I've done and maybe I'm a scratch handicap or whatever they say. But all of those again, as you said, like I'm mature to it. I've got 12, 13 years in the game, so I have dealt with the bullying and all of that stuff. So I quite enjoy it now. I'll take
Mm.
it as engagement. So I will rinse these guys back to get me more engagement, and you just fish for them. And sometimes there's times I've put things in captions and posts knowing that it will upset that person to get engagement. So you just have to harbor it and see it as a positive. But the swing stuff has never come. And I know my swing is okay. So I've
Right,
always
yeah.
been waiting for a little swing jab.
Oh, there you go.
Probably
You're
good enough
fine
not
then.
to get it. Which is hilarious. But yeah, like I say that to everyone that gets into social media, and there's a few crazy kids that do still. But you just have to learn to love it because if you don't, you will just find yourself in a deep capsule of
Mm.
self-pity and doubt for yourself, which benefits no one. And
Yeah.
that person is typically only approaching from one of two angles. They're either insecure about whatever's going on in their life,
Mm.
or jealous of what they can or cannot achieve, which half the time I feel quite sorry for. So you
Mm.
just have to allow them to express whatever's going on in their head and remember that you're going home to your team of beloved people that care about you very much and you don't have to worry about anything else. That's it.
Absolutely. Ah, well said.
Yeah.
What would you say was the sort of, so that's 6 years of going from shooting in the hundreds.
hmm
Um, what would how in what stages did the leaps happen in sort of handicap level? if you know what I mean,
Yeah,
throughout
it's
the track.
actually something I might write a book about eventually because say this to a lot of people, and I don't think it was hard, not at all.
Mm,
And whenever people are like, "Oh, what you've done is really cool," and yeah, it's cool or like really difficult or whatever, but what I did wasn't difficult. And I'll always say this to people: for the first 2 years, hit as many balls as humanly possible, and with every ball, if you really want to do what I kind of half accomplished and get down to scratch, every single ball you hit, ask yourself why it did the thing it did.
mm,
So a big believer in kinesthetic feedback in your golf swinging. I think it's the best learner and achiever to what we can do. And if you don't know what you're feeling, go and seek a coach that you can believe in. And picking your coach is actually probably the hardest part of all this journey.
mm,
But yeah, 2 years, make committed swings, but hit as many balls as you can. The first year, don't even worry about the commitment. Just hit balls. Keep hitting them
mm,
and hit them and hit them and hit them. I found my old yardage book, first yardage book the other day ever, and it was on. If you go on Top Tracer, you can log your numbers obviously.
mm.
And when I had left Bruce Fields when it closed down, there was Fourth View driving range in Falkirk, and my 7 iron used to go 120 yards, and I loved that. And I was like, that is the grind. That is the
Yeah.
grind years where you're just hitting so many balls and your 7 irons going nowhere. So yeah, first year, hit as many balls as you can. Second year, keep doing that, but tell yourself why it's happening and really think about, okay, if you're hitting this massive slice, why is it going on? Film yourself, check if it's plane or if it's club face or if it's flipping the hands or whatever.
Mm,
In those 2 years, you could probably confidently get down to about 18. If you do that, you'll
mm,
get down to about an 18 handicap. Third year to fourth year, um, get rid of everything that's long in your bag. So if you can't hit driver, get rid of it. If you can't hit 3 wood, get rid of it. For those years, my longest club in the bag was hybrid. By
mm,
then I'd figured out fitness. Well, yeah, fitness a little bit, but my distance. So I was hitting
mm,
hybrid around 240, 250. And in my fourth year, I'm skipping a year here, but my fourth year, I played my first year of competitive golf, and it was the Scottish Am Open Series, which is a brilliant little set of kind of Diddy tournaments for everyone to enter. You can have a
mm,
handicap of about a gazillion and still enter.
mm,
Um, and I won the Open Series uh, order of merit for those kind of 5 or 6 events. And the longest club was my hybrid. And people always used to say, like, how do you play golf with the hybrid? And I was like, look, yeah, I'm only hitting at 240, 250, but the guys that I'm playing against or you guys are hitting that with your driver and all over the place. Like I'm
yeah.
wanting something out in the middle of the fairway, 240, 250, and walking up to it and figuring out what's next. And sometimes there was hilarious times where I would go hybrid and then hybrid again. And then you're like,
Mhm,
okay, wedge in a putt. Or when eventually I put other clubs in my bag, times I would go 5 iron, then 3 wood, because
mhm,
it's like people get so worked up in hitting driver. And yeah, hitting driver is great, but I'm 6 years into it in a scratch golfer and still trying to figure out how to hit my driver.
mm,
So it's like get rid of that straight away. Like I always say to people that are trying to break 90 is take out all of the clubs in your bag until you get to the longest, most confident club. If that means 7 iron, that means 7 iron. And
mhm,
honestly, just try it. You'll realize that you lose no golf balls and
mhm.
making a bogey seems really straightforward.
Yeah.
So from year three, I would say in year three, make active changes to your golfing life. So watch a bit of golf, um, read up on a little bit of golf, not a crazy amount, just teeny bits, and then get yourself to the range 1 or 2 or 3 times a week and get rid of the length in your back. Just focus on hitting the ball consistently and really working on kind of the fundamentals. And from watching golf, hopefully you've picked up the fact that you can hit kind of different shots or how to start experimenting hitting different shots and working with different areas of your bag. Uh, Year four is when I got my first golf coach. So at year four, I was probably down to a 12 handicap, or
Mhm,
maybe I was on the way to six. 12 to six happened all of a sudden. It was very quick. Um, so 12, I would say get a golf coach and get someone you can believe in. And if you don't agree with what they're saying, there's a gazillion golf coaches out there. Just go get a different one because the golf coach is so, so important. And I say this
mm,
to everyone because I'm trying to do everything very quickly. Like I want to play a major golf tournament before I'm 30. So I've got 3 more years to do that. Um, And I always say to people, I was like, the golf coach is your timeline. So if you get a golf coach that's telling you the wrong thing, you are decreasing your timeline by like half.
Mm.
Because Michael Phelps talks about it a lot. He was like, every day I missed in the pool was 2 days backwards. So it's like if you have a golf coach heading you in the wrong direction, you're 2, 3, 4 days backwards every time you spend on that wrong thing. So get a golf coach you can believe in and that is doing the right thing. Look to reviews, look to friends, look to fellow pros that have used them. And if any of the listeners ever in Scotland want to know recommendations, I know them all, so I can point you in the right direction. Um, yeah, year four, get a golf coach. Start working on the putter and wedge. That becomes your best friend. Don't worry about drivers still. And then year to 5 to 6, which was my 5-6 handicap to scratch, is sheer obsession.
Mm.
Is the absolute like you're gonna do this or you're gonna die.
Mm.
Read Bob Rotella in cover to cover. Find out everything you know about golf psychology. Learn not to snap your clubs every time you hit a bad shot. Um, Envelop and harness the Chinese farmer philosophy, which in a quick kind of dialogue here is um the science behind you have no idea what the outcome is on something until the next thing happens. So for
Mhm.
those listeners that don't know, the Chinese farmer is something that I hold true in every single bit of life, and it will be the one thing that you need to see everything as a positive because nothing is positive or negative. Um, Basically, this Chinese farmer lives on a farm with his kid, and they run horse and cattle, and it's great. One day, the kid leaves the gate open, and all of the livestock escape, and the village gather, and they say, "Oh God, what are you going to do? That's so unlucky. You're going to have no livestock, no crop, whatever." The farmer says, "Nope. Let's see. I don't know. Let's see." Next day, the horse and cattle come back with two more wild horse, and the village gather and they say, "Oh my God, that's so amazing! That's so lucky! You got two more wild horse from the kind of excursion." The Chinese farmer says, "No, I'm not sure. Let's see." A couple of weeks later, the kid is grooming the horses and kind of getting them into the pride and making sure they work, and gets kicked off of one and breaks his ankle. And the village guy and they say, "Oh my God, that's so unlucky. You're going to have no staff. How are you going to work your farm?" The Chinese farmer says, "No, I don't know. Let's see." And then the next kind of week or so, the Chinese army are going around the all the houses gathering troops for the war. And his son has a broken ankle, so can't go to war. And the village gather and they say, "That's so amazing. That's so lucky. Your son can't go to war because of his broken leg. Like, how do you feel?" And the Chinese farmer says, "Well, I don't know. Let's see." And it's this whole fallacy of
Mm.
you could hit a terrible golf shot and walk up and hole out from there, which I have done.
Mhm.
Or you could hit the green. Sorry, you could hit the hit the green. You could hit the. I did that the weekend actually. Hit the green and four putt. It's not great. You
No,
could,
yeah. I five
you
putted
could,
last week, so don't
yeah,
worry.
exactly. You could hit the fairway, hit the best shot of your life, 400 yards down there, and make a six or a
Mhm.
nine or whatever. Like you never know what's going to happen until you've done it. And that fallacy kind of in between 5 and 6 for me allowed me to kind of have much more of a antidepressant flat
Yeah.
lifestyle with golf. You can approach everything much more level-headed and say like, look, I don't know what's going to happen next. And the other thing that I've poured in from a bit of Bob Rattel and a bit of my sports psychologist Stuart is the curiosity of what's next, which has
Mm.
allowed me to kind of not worry about the bad shots because you come into the next shot and you're like, okay, I'm so curious and excited for what's going to happen now. What does this look like? Is this like a fabulous shot? Is this like a crazy shot? Is it a stock shot? How good could this go?
Mm.
And there's an amazing quote in the series. Uh, I've forgotten the name of it. The Disney series with the footballers. Oh, that's gonna annoy me so much. Ted Lasso
Oh
and
yeah, yeah.
yeah, the Ted Lasso series. Richmond, that's it. And Ted Lasso talks about it's the see when he's getting the 180 or the final check at 170 in the bar, and he had to do it to win whatever he was winning. And he was talking about the art of curiosity. It's like, why are more people not curious? People are so quick to be negative and
Mm.
affirmative and so sure of themselves. Why not be curious and see what's
Mm.
going on in the landscape and enjoy life? You know, so like
Yeah.
what could happen next?
Yeah. I said to a friend of mine recently about he was struggling with his chipping or whatever it may be, and I said, well, why don't you walk up to the ball and just, you've hit good chips before, so walk up to the ball and rather than, watch out, like more of a watch this approach,
Yeah,
like, try and do something with it because
yeah,
if you go up to it thinking I've thinned this like how many times, like I'm gonna do it again, you
you're
know,
probably gonna do it.
you're
Yeah,
probably gonna do it again. I'm like, you have like some athletic ability. I'm
yeah,
like, so just do it, just do is what you said. That's
yeah,
interesting what you say, Josh, because I feel like the biggest leap from what you're saying then is from the six to scratch.
yeah,
That's what
100%.
takes the most, not work, because obviously you've put in the work of the year of just grinding, hitting balls, and then everything that's followed from there. But there's a big separation between your sort of six handicapper to scratch handicapper.
Yeah, like the best way, like for instance, what handicap are you?
I'm a 10 at the
Right.
moment.
So we could go out right now. T 10 is on the borderline, but I would be confident in saying we could go right out right now. We could play 2 or 3 rounds, and by the third round, I'd be confident that you felt more like a five handicapper than a 10
Mm.
handicapper.
I feel like it's close and it's really frustrating.
Yeah, it is. It
Yeah.
is honestly, and it will just like from for me, 12 to 6 just clicked. Like it just
Mm.
happened. Um, but for six to scratch, it was everything. Like you had to figure out every part of the sport. And again, like with some of the scores I'm putting in, it's probably going to go away in a bit until I figure it out again. But it was a run of good form, and
Mm.
it's like you're harnessing every piece of equipment you've bought and got fitted for, every book you've ever read on golf, every kind of situation you've been in, harnessing, just as you said, that kind of philosophy of like watch this, not watch out.
Mm.
Um, it's like there's two people. One says that they can do it, one says they can. They're probably both right. You know,
Mm.
it's like approaching every situation with the can do mentality. And the other big one actually on this is having the confidence to hit the longer shots.
Mm.
One of the things I became quite confident at, what's the word? Not passively, like on purpose is what I'm trying to say. Like I
Mm.
meant to do it was the longer shots. Like I would have anything like above 200 yards into a green. And for me, at the time, that would have been like a 7 iron and up. And if you give a professional golfer a 7 iron, and like Brian Harman's a good example from
Mm.
150 yards, they're hitting that 7 iron with pure confidence, right? And it's because of the club. Now, distances are distances. It's to do with output, smash factor, and strength and everything else. So if you give me that same 7 iron in construct, I'll maybe not hit as accurately, but I should hit it as confidently.
Mm.
So for some reason, I wasn't doing that. I was approaching the 200 yard, the 210 yard mark, and not hitting these clubs confidently, which is where Craig brilliantly said he's like, that's where you should beat people. He's like, when you're 210 yards out and someone's trying to hit a hybrid there, but you've got 8 iron in your hand, like that's where you
Mm.
should be beating people. So for me, I took it as a real like I'm going to figure this out mentality, and got confident hitting the longer shots. And at the time, I was playing with this bag of Cobra Forge checks, which are just go further sticks.
Mm.
So my 5 iron was going about 240 yards.
Mm.
So there were times where I'd got over the ball at 250, 260 out and took 5 iron and hit it and it'd gone up to the green and whatever and been like, Christ, thank God. But all of a sudden, just because you're in the fairway and just because you've hit the 240 yard 5 iron, you're putting for eagle and you're like, oh, this is what scratch golf is. And the other brilliant thing that I've actually only taken up recently to try and play proper scratch golf is I was having a round with a guy and he was talking about one of the professionals, Asian players on tour, woman, and she
Mm.
just hit 64 greens out of 64 greens for the tournament. And the commentator's like, and women golfers are incredible.
It's insane,
And
yeah. It always makes me laugh when the guys say
yeah,
that,
I know.
your club sort of like 2 to 5 handicap or whatever is like, oh, I could beat him. It's like, no, you
Yeah, no,
couldn't.
no, mate.
No, you couldn't.
Yeah.
It would wipe the floor with
put
you.
put a 7 wood in their hand and they're stiffing it from 190 yards, and you're just like, how
Yeah,
have you done that?
yeah.
But yeah, he talked the 64 greens, and the commentator asked, he's like, how did you come about that, and what was your process? And she was just like, I aimed at the green, and it was
Mm.
as simple as that. And I
Yeah.
was just like, that because for me the big thing I couldn't figure out, and it's what I'm trying to now figure out to get to the plus handicap as I aim for the British Amateur, um, is being aggressive and putting what I would call the figurative foot down is so difficult in golf because that's not really what golf is about. It's not about swinging harder or faster or hitting the ball further in some construct. It's about kind of being very boring and
Mhm.
controlled and rhythmical. So for me, in the last, what kind of allowed me to shoot 300 through those 12 holes the other day was hit fairway confidently, hit green prominently, putt.
Mm.
I didn't get that.
That's
Could you
it.
try
Oh,
again?
Siri's wondering.
Yeah.
Um, and it's like
Siri just wants in right now.
he
This
wants
is
in,
like,
he wants to scratch golf.
yeah, he's a
And it
seven
was
right
like
now. He's
on
just
those
trying to come down.
yeah, on those 12 holes, I had, I think it was 11 or 10 birdie putts because all you're
Mm.
doing is hitting the fairway, hitting the green, and then it's like now you be aggressive. Now you can
Yeah.
take the kind of putt into it. And as soon as you do that, like the the pars become birdie chances. The
Mm.
bogeys become tap-in sort of things, and everything becomes much more straightforward. And I would say the biggest part I took from analysis of my game was 2 years ago in that kind of order of merit winning season. My par five average scoring average, which will tell you about the longer clubs, was like 6.5 or something. It was ridiculous. It
Right.
was so
Yeah.
bad. So I was like, as Craig said, like these are where I need to be winning. So you have to start by saying I want to make par, not you need to make birdie. And then
Mm.
as you're in the process of making par, so hitting the green and reg or whatever it is, the birdies become much more doable because you're just
Mm.
putting for birdie on a maximum space of about 30 feet unless you're on St. Andrews.
Yeah.
So like just playing the golf as it's meant to be played sometimes is the best way of doing it and focusing so much more about being in regulation than hitting the ball really far
Yeah.
everywhere else.
Yeah. I had like a eureka moment when I had Scott Fawcett on the
Yeah.
podcast,
Yeah.
and he was, he was Scott, which was, I knew exactly what I was going to get. He's somebody that very much believes in Decade, and rightly so, because it's a brilliant system for sort of just like removing your ego from the equation. Like, sometimes you'll see like a pin which is sort of tucked right, but you've got a wedge in your hand. You're like, well, if I'm not going for this pin now, then when am I going to start going for pins?
Yeah.
And he's brutally honest. I said where I was at with my game, and he's like, you're not good enough.
Yeah.
Like, he's like, the guys on tour with a wedge in the hand, 15 feet is like that's a pretty good result. He's
Yeah.
like, you're not doing that.
Yeah.
He's like, so if a pin is 10 feet off the right and 15 paces on or whatever, you've got no chance. He's like,
Yeah.
you'd have to hit the best shot you've ever hit, which how often is that going to happen?
Yeah.
Like, and it was tough to hear and and things like that. But I implemented that when I literally next played and I like broke 80 for the first time
Yeah.
because I was just like it got silly to the point where I'd be like 20, 30 yards off the green and I'd look at the pin and I go, like, yeah, I could chip on to that point, or I could
Yeah.
find where the flattest putt on this green is
Yeah.
and try and go to there instead.
Yeah.
And like that was a huge game changer in
Yeah.
my game.
Well, I'll go
That
one further than that. Like when I caddied for Craig, and Craig at the time, I'll give him credit now, although I haven't seen it in person, but Craig tells me he's a much better putter now. But Craig, when I first caddied for him, was probably the worst putter I'd ever seen in my life, and it's credit to him because he was playing off +5 at the time. So +5 with terrible putting is pretty hard.
yeah, it's amazing.
It shows you how good his other game was. Like the guy used to hit 3 irons from the rough. It was ridiculous, but he would slice his putts, and we started having to think about on like a long putt. So for them, that would be like 30 foot.
Mm,
It would be like, where are we trying to miss? So it's like
mhm,
we'd go to a flag and we'd find that flattest part to come back on. So there, or the only extension of that, if there was like a really crazy putt and it was like left, right, left, right, left, right, it was deciding which side we want to finish on.
mm,
So let's say, for instance, this 30 foot triple breaker, right? The flat side is on the right, kind of short. I would say to Craig, right, we've got a 30-foot putt. Let's go, let's try and finish it short. And if anything, let's go on the low side, right? It's got the highest chance of getting it in for the second time. Because as you said, the biggest thing people forget is whilst trying to go for this birdie or pin, and also like come away with a tap in par or try and make par it, whatever way you want to
Mm,
phrase it. You'll make bogey and double that way. That's always
hmm
what happens. It's always what happened to me. Whereas, as you said, like going for the middle of a green and then going, okay, we'll still have a chance at birdie. Like, how good's your putting? That's what I want to
Yeah.
know. And then making a easy par. Because the most of the courses we play on, like the greens aren't that crazy, right?
Mm,
Some of them you'll go to and you're like, this was a tough green day, and you'll have to know that. But some of them aren't that crazy. As long as you're at a course that the conditions of the greens are puttable, then you're having a great time.
yeah.
So middle of the green and figure it out from there, you will lower your scores instantly. And it's not even through anything else. And you'll probably find your golf a little bit more boring. But as you start to get the cards in, you realize that your golf becomes a lot more exciting in construct.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, and it's what you said something brilliant the first part there, and it was the you're not good enough to get annoyed in that. And there's two elements to that which I love. Like I go out with this guy, Jeff Taylor, and Jeff won't mind me saying this if he ever gets this part of the podcast or is listening. But he would hit a wedge to from like 120 yards to like 10 feet, 15 feet and get annoyed. And I would scream at him. I'm like, Jeff, Scotty Scheffler doesn't do that on a regular basis. Why are you getting annoyed? Like you've hit a
Mm,
fantastic shot. Go up and try and make birdie and get to France. Like
yeah.
in construct, you've done exactly what you need to do there. And the other one brilliantly there that I used that I'd learned from Peter Finch and Padraig Harrington
Mm,
is you aren't good enough to get annoyed at what you just did. It's like you're just not good enough. And it's like, how can you be so silly to think you're that good that you should hit every putt online and every chip online and everything? So again, it's always backwards and engineered with me, but just keep going. Just keep being curious about the next shot.
yeah. Yeah. No,
That's it.
absolutely. Yeah. That day I broke 80. I had a triple on the scorecard as well.
Yeah.
Like, which then again, of course, that night I'm thinking, oh,
But that's it as
man.
well. That's a great point. Is like you had an 80 with a triple, and there's like again, there's like two ways you could look at it. You're like, oh, it could have been a
It
77 or
was it was a 78 with a triple,
yeah, exactly. Could it could
which
it
was
could
even that was the killer. It was like
could have been a
it's a
75.
75.
Then you're looking at three over, and then you're like, oh Christ. Then I'm like three handicap. Could be looking at scratch, and it's like a never-ending cycle.
I'm
But
forgetting the feet of putt that I made to probably save
yeah,
par.
yeah,
That's all
yeah, yeah.
gone. That doesn't matter. That's well, of course I did that.
That was it with me the weekend. Like I think it's a new course, so this is not a really big achievement, but I think the 300 is a course record at Eastwood that I shot, and
Nice.
it's I'm instantly like, oh, I could probably could have shot 7 or 8 under, and then you're like, well, you shot 3 under, so let's not be silly here. So yeah, it's funny. It's funny the way
That's
it goes.
golf.
Yeah,
That's
it's
just
it's
golf, isn't
golf.
it?
It's
But
golf.
Josh,
Like
sorry, go on,
just
carry
to say your last point, it's like all I was gonna say is I would be the best way, and again, it's a tip to you now as a 10 handicapper to keep
on.
going on,
Please.
is I would say looking at that triple bogey is your next game in the part to be curious is you should
Mhm.
go out and the only rule is you can't make double. That's the only rule.
Okay.
You can't make double bogey. So and it's a rule I hold right now. It's what's saving me in a few bad rounds. But for instance, that 3 under round, my only rule was you can't make double in a shot three
hmm
under with no bogeys. So you go and again, you're thinking, okay, let's see you've got the hardest one on the course, your nemesis. Like that might not even be the hardest one on the course, but it might be a shot you don't like or something. Hit the safest first shot, hit the safest second shot, and just try and make par. And if you
Okay.
make par, you'll realize very quickly that that's two shots versus your last. Maybe it's the triple bogey hole. Maybe you come to that
Mm.
hole and you're like, okay, let's just make par. Right. So that's
Mm.
3 shots straight away. Now you're looking at 75 and you're like, okay, where can I clean up bits from the last round? Maybe I made a silly bogey. Let's try and make par there. Now you got 74. And now you're like, oh Christ, now you can get towards scratch off quite quickly. So yeah, just be curious.
This has come at quite a good time actually because I'm playing. A mate of mine's organised a little competition, and it's at a course that I've never played before. It's at Hurtmore.
Yeah, nice.
Um, have you been there before?
No, no, no,
Around
not
that
at all.
way? That's like Surrey way. Like I'm just getting in a car and turning up. Like it's quite nice, really. Like a
Yeah,
mate
yeah,
of
yeah.
mine's driving, so I'm just like none the wiser. But I was looking ahead of the course, and it is a super gettable course. I think we're
Yeah.
playing it off the yellows as well.
Nice. Yeah, yeah.
But this is where I maybe need a bit of reining in because I'm looking at it and there is like there's probably, especially with how burnt out everything is at the moment, how
Yeah,
far the ball's going on the ground,
yeah,
like there's probably maybe 7 or 8 drivable par fours.
yeah, yeah. What
So,
what I would
and
say is what I would say
go
is a
on.
lot of that, by the way.
You can see where I'm going.
You have to be excited by the curiosity. But what I would say is it's like the same construct again. Is what I would ask you here. Here's a great question.
Okay.
Is why are you trying to drive the green?
Yeah.
Yeah, you ask no, but you ask people that, and no one replies if I'm trying to make ego. That's no one says that because it's not something you can physically say.
No, I
So
think I'm trying to get the ball. So my biggest issue at the moment is probably with like a 80, 90 yard shot.
yeah, right.
That's the
So
one I'm struggling with at the moment.
here's a great point to hear. There's two things you do, and it's what Tiger did to win his first Open,
Hmm.
amazingly, is that he didn't practice one bunker shot because he one, he couldn't hit them, and two, he didn't plan to be in them. So the one
Right.
thing you can do, right, if you've got this 80, 90 yard range that sucks.
Mm,
Well, there's actually three things. I'll give you the two good ones you should actually use is hit the ball so that you can never be 80 or 90 yards out. You'll obviously know this already. It's not rocket science. But
mm,
hit the ball. Maybe you've got a favorite club like 120 yards. Now,
mm.
to a 10 handicap, and this is not speaking to you because I know you're a knowledgeable guy, but to a 10 handicap, that might seem crazy because now you're not thinking about like a 60-yard shot, you're thinking about a 120-yard shot. But
Mm,
believe me, a fuller, more committed swing will be much easier to you than a 60-yard feely shot.
mm.
Um, the next thing is in when you're practicing, or maybe you get some time to go to the range this weekend, only practice 80 to 90 yard shots. That's the
Yeah.
only thing you do. So that when it comes to that random club in the weekend, or maybe you hit a bad drive and you've got 80, 90 yards in the rough, you're like, oh Christ, I practiced for like 3 hours the other day. This is
Yeah.
easy.
I've got this. Yeah.
Exactly. And then
Yeah.
the last thing that's a bit of a cheat code, but it really shouldn't be prescribed, is that when you get to 80 or 90 yards, don't hit an 80 to 90 yard shot. Hit a
Hmm.
70-yard shot or a 100-yard shot and be totally confident with that. Like,
Mm.
I'll say it all the time, but one of the rounds I played last year was on a course again I didn't like. It was Bruntsfield, and I'd never played the first hole well. And that time it's like total Chinese farmer. I hit this 330-yard drive shaking, perfectly out of the fairway, and I was like, Christ, the five would be bad from here. I got six, and went on to the next holes. I think it was like 5 over through three, and then finished around 4 over. So it's
Right.
just like totally, you just change your outlook and everything. And
Mm.
what I did in that round was I told myself always to give myself a putt on the third shot. So there's a few holes, like there was one hole, I think it was 15, whereas this par four, you play to the corner, then you play over. And I had like a 60-yard wedge front edge, and then the pin was at like 70. And I was
Mm.
like, I've got no idea how this is going to come out. Just play a 50-yard shot. If it jumps, you're going to have a tap in putt. If it doesn't jump, you're going to have like a 60-yard putt. And it
Mm.
did. So I had got the putt, played a nice, like what would have been a 15-foot putt, probably par. Right.
Nice.
That's the change in everything. It's like, don't worry so much about like hitting this 80 or 90-yard shot. Just play a
Yeah.
70-yard shot and figure it out after that, or play a
Don't aim for
100-yard shot.
perfect.
And
Like, yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
that's it. And then half the time as well, this is no discredit to you or me because I'm the same. If I told you to play a 70-yard shot, you probably hit it 80 yards sometimes. So
Yeah.
then all of a sudden, you've got nothing to worry about.
Mm.
That's the
Yeah.
science of it.
Okay. So you're not saying don't necessarily go for like the things, but just be
No,
aware
yeah,
of
like
where you don't want to end up.
it's all risk and reward. I think, especially in a casual round, you've got to have fun and go for par
Mm.
fours because that is golf. And as soon as you, especially at a 10 handicap stage, as soon as you rip the going for green out of golf, you're ruining your entire experience.
Yeah.
Like I still go for greens and they're fun, but for me now to like protect the score, you have to like be sensible about these things. So yeah,
Mm.
don't get me wrong. If my driver's on, I'm going for par five sometimes. You know,
Yeah.
you're really
Yeah.
going at things. Like on Eastwood is a good example. People hate playing with me because I can hit the ball far. I don't go at greens, but I go other fairways because you
Hmm.
can play like the Bryson where there's no out of bounds. So you like on one I play up 12, on four I play up 7, on seven, I play up eight, and it makes everything so much easier. And people are like, "What are you doing?" And I'm like, "No, this is easier golf." So it's all risk and reward. Like
Yeah,
for me going out with you, I would probably prescribe that you hit something, especially on burnt out fairways, something short that can have the chance of rolling up.
yeah,
But then also would also prescribe hitting something that's not going to leave us 80 or 90 yards. So
yeah,
you're ripping the fun out of it like constantly
yeah.
here. But that's it. Like
I think
especially
because
for a
it's a
competitive sport, go for it.
it's a stable food comp, and
Oh
I
yeah,
know there
go
is a
for it.
load of bandits there as well. So I know I'm not going to win. So
Yeah.
for me to win, I'm going to have to shoot probably my best score that I've ever shot. Like I know there's guys
Yeah, shoot like an even par to get 8 shots or whatever. Yeah.
exactly, and I probably still won't win. So I might as well go
Have fun.
there and
Aye.
just have fun. Like I've looked ahead. There's not a lot. The holes where I want to drive it, or there's some that there's five woods enough as well. So it's like I've looked ahead and think, right, if I end up in the greenside bunker, I'm okay with that. Like,
Yeah.
I can hit a bunker shot. Like
Yeah.
I'm probably going to be closer than what the guy will be who will lay up to then hit in with the quality of golf that will be on display. So I think why not? Let's just give it a go. But I'm going to bear that in mind to maybe get
The
around
other
and
thing as well,
practice those shots.
good. But the other thing as well as an extension of that is, especially with how confident I'm trying to become with my wedges, is how how well would you score if you played a golf course? Don't consider par, but if you put the ball 30 yards away from every single pin on the course and you had 3 shots, every hole's a par three, what would you
Mhm.
score? Do you think you'd be under or over par? And it's like a really interesting
Mm.
scenario, especially for those seven. If you said, let's say, I mean, you're talking about 5 wood, so let's say your 5 wood goes 260 or something.
Mhm.
Let's say now you're going to put the ball at 230 and you've got to try and make par. I would be confident. I've never seen you play golf, and I'd be confident you could do it 7 out of 10 times,
Mm.
right? So now you're looking at seven easy birdie chances, and then all of a sudden it's a different game. Like that's where I would say to you, it's like the birdie train's a funner place to be than reload.
Yes, yeah,
Yeah, it is.
yeah, 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 absolutely. Yeah, at the moment I've got this little like 52 because everything's burnt out and everything's pretty dry.
Yeah,
You got this little like just this little 52-degree sort of like chip that I'm going with at the moment that's just playing really nicely. It's just
yeah. There you
checking
go.
up.
There you
So
go.
that's what I want to have in my hand more often than not. So that's how I'm going to try and play it. Be aggressive, but plus all the internal OBs aren't in play on the day because we've basically got the course to ourselves.
Fast.
So I'm going to aim at all sorts of targets, which definitely wouldn't normally be in play.
That's
Just away
fun.
from train tracks and roads. That's where I'm
Yeah,
going to.
yeah. Go up other fairways. That's the fun part of golf.
But Josh, I mean, where do you obviously got the partnerships that you're doing? I see you doing lots of stuff with Adidas and
Yeah.
Strixon, everything like that. Where do you see like the rest of the year maybe going? Or maybe that's too far in ahead because it might be
No,
just towards
I
some
think I got
time.
3 months left, really.
Yeah, I sort of don't. Yeah, that's scary. But where do you know, as of next year and think, where do you sort of see things going for you?
It's a good question. I think for me is I want to I want to have some real positive golf going into next year. I want to play some of the golf I played at the weekend and play it consistently. Um, I want to continue to grow what I'm growing. A big thing for me at the end of last year was community, and I worked on that a lot. I have a little community that follow me, and had at the time got a kind of little community growing. So I want to continue to work with the guys at Adidas. Adidas have been
Mm,
incredible for me this year, in supporting me in the way they have. Shrixon and Clydeway, through in Bovo, they've been amazing in supporting me with clubs. So
mm,
continue to do all that. Continue to make it lucrative, so that I can support myself. And yeah, outside of all that, the YouTube will be starting, so that archive that you grew up, we're gonna
mm.
remold that and make sure that it's ready for golf. We filmed the full fit restrictions, so all the data and nerdy stuff's coming on that.
Mm.
Filmed some bits for the Adidas stuff, so all the what a ambassador box looks like is coming on that, which is class. We're gonna film some matches. Me and my videographer Lewis, although he's injured at the moment, we're gonna do like the Garrett Clark, Micah Morris style matches with that, get that going. Film some competitive golf. I've got a tournament on Thursday at Glenbervie. Hopefully film that entire round. So yeah, just keep continuing to grow my personal brand, keep showing people who I am, and keep inspiring people to realize that if you just do a little bit more every time, you'll keep getting better. And it's my philosophy in the brand model of do more. And it's basically just like on that one day that you can't do it, just do one more. And it's a big philosophy that I hold is Michael Phelps's, and he talks about the deposit days. And he was saying that there were some days he'd turn up to the pool and would want to throw up, but he
Mm.
knew that whatever he was putting in, let's say it was 12% of his usual output, he was putting it into this bank of deposits that come race day or the Olympics or whenever he did the crazy stuff that he did, he was depositing all of that output. So for me, for someone that's listening right now that they're maybe struggling or there's a challenge that they're trying to overface, or if there is a personal relationship or if there's something at work or anything, it's just like do that thing you're really scared to do a little bit every day and just wake up every single day trying to do more than you did the other day and you will keep winning. It's like I always say, people look far too far ahead sometimes. It's good to have goals, but if you do the best in every day, that day becomes a week and those weeks become years and all of a sudden you've got a pretty good life.
Yeah, yeah. I often say to a friend of mine, as Michael Jackson said, if you want to be starting something, you've got to be starting something.
Yeah, that's it. That's it,
And he
man.
goes, "That's horrible." I'm like, "Oh."
It's one day or day one, as
Mm,
my brother famously said. Um, you got to get up and do the thing, and it's like
absolutely.
if you had 100% of a problem, you do 1% one day, you get 99% of a problem that was 100% the last day. So
Yeah,
just do the thing and keep doing it.
absolutely, Josh. Well, I look forward to seeing all that. I mean, that was really cool to just get a glimpse into your like history, your life, how golf has influenced it, and how you find yourself where you are now, which was really really cool, mate. I do appreciate that.
Thanks,
Although I
man.
will one up you with the fact that I did upload a YouTube video in 2004, I think it was,
Nice.
of me. Do you remember the T90 shots? It
Yeah,
was
yeah.
like, yeah, so you used to be able to print out the target and like put it on a
Yeah, yeah.
tree.
Oh, wow.
But yeah, and I must have been
That's aura.
maybe,
That's legacy.
yeah, yeah. The trouble is, because of how grainy cameras were on phones, you can't really see the target, and you definitely can't tell because of the frame rate if the ball hits it or not. But then you just have me turn around and just fist bump, like you're
Yeah.
like, yeah, yes, that's it.
Yes.
So it will still be on YouTube somewhere. I don't know, it'll be T90 shot or something or another.
The
Listeners
the
are
first
welcome to try and find that.
the first ever video I uploaded was on Facebook and it was from my Vodafone flip phone and it
Nice.
was of my mate flicking up this football in what is called the front green where I live. And he hit
Yeah.
the Scotland flag from ages away. And it's that same thing. Like you zoom in, you can't really tell if it actually hit it or not, but we all go crazy and
Just giant
it's
pixels.
yeah, it's part of the culture then, wasn't it?
And mate, things have changed. Things have changed quite a bit,
Yeah.
but it's still at
Everything's
it.
in 4K.
But Josh, I appreciate your time so much, mate.
Thank you,
Thank you
man.
so much for coming on the podcast.
It's a
And
pleasure.
look forward to watching your journey. And I'm sure we can catch up again further down the line.
Yeah.
And hopefully I'll be a little bit closer to the handicap I want to be, and you'll be even further down the line and competing and getting to where you want to be.
Let's hope. It's an uphill battle, but we're on the way.
Absolutely, mate. Cheers, Josh.
Thanks, man.